The galactic veterinary station called Harmony's Grace floated in the darkness of space near a small moon. It was a place where ships stopped to rest, where traders sold their goods, and where sick animals from 100 different worlds came to be healed. Dr. Talek had worked there for 40 years. He was a Felnorian, a species with blue scales that change color with his emotions and 4 arms that could hold many tools at once. He thought he had seen everything the universe could show him. He was wrong. The emergency signal came early in the morning cycle. A broken ship had been found drifting near the station. No one was alive on it. The cargo holds were empty. But deep in the ship's belly, the rescue team found something that made them call Dr. Talek immediately. "You need to come to Docking Bay 9, the security chief said through the communicator. His voice was shaking. Now, Dr. Talek hurried through the station's metal hallways. His 4 arms swung nervously at his sides. When he reached the docking bay, he found a circle of armed guards standing around a large metal container. Their weapons were pointed at it. Some of them were trembling. "What is happening here?" Dr. Talek asked the security chief. A large creature called a Kreth with rocky gray skin and small black eyes pointed one thick finger at the container. "We found this in the ship. It was frozen in some kind of sleep pod. We opened it because we thought someone might need help." Dr. Talek stepped closer. The container had thick glass windows on its sides. He looked through one of them and felt his scales turn pale white with fear. Inside was a beast. It was huge, bigger than any animal Dr. Talek had treated before. 6 powerful legs were folded under its body. Black fur, dirty and matted with dried blood, covered it from head to tail. One of its eyes was swollen completely shut. The other eye was open, watching everything with a look that spoke of pain and anger and something else. Something tired. The creature breathed slowly. Each breath sounded wet and difficult. Its ribs showed through its skin. Scars covered its body like someone had used it for practice with a knife. "Do you know what this is?" The security chief asked quietly. Dr. Talek nodded slowly. His throat felt dry. "It is a Varax. They were created long ago during the Third Spiral War. Scientists made them to be living weapons. They can break through metal walls. They feel no fear. They do not stop until everything around them is dead." He paused. "They were supposed to be extinct. All of them were destroyed after the war ended. What do we do with it? Seal this bay completely. Let no one in or out. Contact the Extermination Guild. They handle dangerous creatures. They will." Dr. Talek swallowed hard. "They will end its suffering. Quickly. Safely." Before the security chief could respond, a young Felnorian named Mila rushed into the bay. She was Dr. Talek's assistant, small and nervous with scales that were always slightly pink from worry. "Doctor," she said breathlessly, "we sent out a distress signal when we found the ship. A vessel has answered. They are docking right now." "What kind of vessel?" Mila's scales turned even pinker. "A human vessel." Dr. Talek felt his heart sink. Humans. Of all the species in the galaxy, humans were the most confusing. They came from a death world, a planet where everything tried to kill everything else. They should have died out long ago. Instead, they spread across the stars like they owned them. But the strangest thing about humans was how they treated animals. They kept predators in their homes. They called dangerous beasts their friends. They looked at creatures that could eat them and saw something to love. Dr. Talek did not know if humans would help this situation or make it much worse. The airlock door hissed open. 2 humans walked into the docking bay. The first was a woman with dark hair, cut very short, and eyes that looked at everything like she was measuring it for a fight. She wore a captain's uniform and walked with the confidence of someone who had seen many battles and survived all of them. Her name tag said Park Yuna. Behind her was a man who looked younger. He had a kind face with gentle eyes and messy black hair that fell across his forehead. He carried a worn leather bag over one shoulder. His name tag said Lee Do-won. Captain Yuna stopped and looked at the armed guards, the sealed container, and the terrified aliens standing around it. She did not seem surprised or scared. She simply waited. Do-won walked past her. He walked past the guards. He walked right up to the container and looked through the glass window. For a long moment, he said nothing. He just looked at the beast inside. The Vorax's one good eye looked back at him. Then Do-won made a sound. It was soft and sad, the kind of sound someone makes when they see something that breaks their heart. "Oh no," he whispered. "Oh, you poor thing. What did they do to you?" Dr. Talek stepped forward quickly. "Human, please step away from the container. This creature is extremely dangerous. We are waiting for specialists who will handle it properly." Do-won did not move. He pressed one hand against the glass. Inside, the Vorax shifted slightly. Its breathing changed. "Handle it," Do-won repeated. His voice was still soft, but there was something in it now. Something hard. "You mean kill it. It is a Vorax. It was made to kill. It knows nothing else." Do-won finally turned away from the container. He looked at Dr. Talek with those gentle eyes, and the Felnorian felt like the human could see right through him. "Doctor," Do-won said, "I have spent my whole life working with animals that were hurt. Animals that were broken. Animals that everyone else wanted to throw away because they were too damaged, too dangerous, too difficult." He looked back at the beast in the container. "This animal is not a weapon. Not anymore. This animal is a victim. Someone hurt it. Someone starved it. Someone made it fight until it did not know anything except pain." His voice grew even softer. "It needs help. It needs someone to show it that the universe is not just cruelty and suffering." Captain Yuna had moved to stand beside her medic. Her hand rested on the weapon at her hip, but she was not pointing it at the Vorax. She was watching the aliens around her. "My crew and I will handle this," she said. Her voice was calm, but left no room for argument. "We will take responsibility for the creature. Whatever happens next is on us." Dr. Talek's scales flashed through several colors. White for fear, red for anger, purple for confusion. "You cannot be serious. This thing will kill you the moment you open that container." Do-won smiled. It was a sad smile, but also a determined one. "Then I will die trying to help something that needed help. There are worse ways to go." He opened his bag and began to pull out medical supplies. Dr. Talek could not believe what he was seeing. The human called Do-won was laying out medical tools on the floor of the docking bay, like he was preparing for a simple checkup. Bandages, bottles of medicine, clean cloths, a device for listening to heartbeats. Everything neat and organized, everything within easy reach. The Vorax watched through the glass. Its one good eye followed every movement Do-won made. "This is madness," Dr. Talek said. His voice was higher than usual. "Complete madness. I have read the reports about Vorax creatures. During the war, a single adult could destroy an entire battalion of soldiers. They were bred to feel no mercy. They were designed to kill without stopping." "That was a long time ago," Captain Yuna said. She had positioned herself near the container's control panel. "Wars end. Things change. Creatures like this do not change. It is in their blood, in their bones." Do-won stopped arranging his supplies. He stood up and faced Dr. Talek directly. Despite being smaller than the four-armed alien, he did not seem afraid. "Doctor," he said patiently, "I want to tell you something about where I come from. Earth is not a gentle place. Our planet has storms that can flatten cities, mountains that breathe fire, oceans full of creatures with teeth bigger than your arm. We should have died 1,000,000 times. But we are still here. Yes, I know about your death world. Everyone knows about Earth. Then, you know that we grew up surrounded by predators. Lions, wolves, bears, sharks. Things that could kill us without effort. Dawan smiled slightly. And do you know what we did? We did not hide from them. We did not try to destroy all of them. Instead, we learned to understand them. Some of them we made our friends. Dogs were wolves once. Cats were wild hunters. Now they sleep in our beds and eat from our hands. Dr. Talek shook his head. Those are small creatures. This is a Varax. There is no comparison. There is always a comparison. Every creature, no matter how big or how dangerous, is still just a creature. It gets scared. It gets hungry. It feels pain. It wants to be safe. Dawan pointed at the container. Look at this animal. Really look at it. What do you see? Dr. Talek did not want to look, but something in the human's voice made him turn his head. He looked through the glass at the Varax inside. The creature had pressed itself against the far wall of the container. Its ears, torn and scarred, were flat against its head. Its one good eye was wide and watching. Its breathing was fast and shallow. I see a monster, Dr. Talek said, but his voice was less certain now. I see an animal that is terrified, Dawan replied softly. Look at how it is sitting. It is trying to make itself smaller. Its ears are down because it is scared, not because it is angry. It is watching us because it does not know if we are going to hurt it too. Mila, who had been hiding behind a stack of cargo boxes, slowly came out. Her scales were still pink with worry, but there was something else in her expression now. Curiosity. How do you know these things? She asked. How can you read what it is feeling? Dawan looked at her kindly. Because I have seen these signs before. 1,000 times. In dogs that were beaten by their owners. In horses that were worked until they collapsed. In every animal that learned to expect pain instead of kindness. He turned back to the container. This Varax has been hurt very badly. Those scars are not from battles. They are too regular, too careful. Someone cut this animal on purpose. And its body, so thin and weak, that is from starvation. Someone kept it hungry to make it more aggressive. These are the marks of a fighting pit. A fighting pit? Captain Yuna asked sharply. Yes, illegal in most places, but they still exist in the darker parts of the galaxy. People capture dangerous creatures and make them fight each other for entertainment. They keep them starving so they will be more violent. They beat them to make them angry. Dawan's voice grew cold. And when the creatures are too broken to fight anymore, they throw them away like garbage. Dr. Talek felt something strange happening inside him. His fear was still there, but it was mixing with another feeling. Something uncomfortable. Something like shame. Even if what you say is true, he said slowly, the creature is still dangerous. If we open that container, it might attack. It might kill someone. It might, Dawan agreed. Or it might finally find someone who does not want to hurt it. How can you be willing to risk your life on a maybe? Dawan was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was very soft. When I was young, my family had a farm in the countryside of Korea. My grandmother believed that every life was precious. She would take in any animal that needed help. Dogs that had been abandoned on the roads. Cats that were sick and dying. Birds with broken wings. Even animals that other people said were too dangerous or too damaged to save. He paused, remembering. One day, someone brought us a dog. It had been used for fighting. It was covered in wounds. It tried to bite anyone who came near it. Everyone said my grandmother should have it put down. They said it was too far gone, that it would never trust humans again. What happened? Mila asked. She sat with it. Every day, for hours. She did not try to touch it or force it to do anything. She just sat near its cage and talked to it in a calm voice. She brought it food and fresh water. She let it see that not every human wanted to hurt it. Do-hwan smiled at the memory. After 3 months, that dog walked out of its cage and put its head in her lap. It stayed with her for 10 more years. It never hurt anyone. It just wanted someone to show it that kindness was possible. The docking bay was silent. Even the armed guards had stopped shifting nervously. They were all listening. Captain Yuna stepped forward. "Do-hwan saved my life once," she said. "We were on a colony world that had been attacked by raiders. I was trapped under a collapsed building, dying slowly. He walked through a war zone to reach me. He did not have any weapons. He did not have any backup. He just had his medical kit and his stupid, stubborn belief that he could help." She looked at Dr. Talek with eyes that had seen too much death. "I trust him. If he says this creature needs help instead of a bullet, then I believe him. And I will stand beside him while he tries." Dr. Talek looked at the two humans. Then he looked at the Varax in the container. The creature had not moved. It was still watching, still waiting, still afraid. For 40 years, Dr. Talek had treated sick animals. He had dedicated his life to helping creatures in pain. And now, when he was faced with a creature that needed help more than any other he had ever seen, his first response had been to call for its death. What did that say about him? His scales slowly changed color from white to a soft blue. It was the color of uncertainty, but also the color of thinking. "If I help you," he said quietly, "and this creature kills us all, I want you to know that I will blame you for the rest of eternity." Do-hwan grinned. It was a warm, genuine smile that made his whole face light up. "That is fair. I accept those terms." He turned to Captain Yuna. "Lower the containment field. It is time to meet our patient." Captain Yuna pressed the button on the control panel. A low hum filled the docking bay as the containment field around the container powered down. The shimmering blue barrier flickered once, twice, and then disappeared completely. Nothing separated them from the Varax anymore. Every guard in the room raised their weapon. Dr. Talek stumbled backward until he hit the wall. Mila made a small squeaking sound and dove behind a cargo box again. But Do-hwan did something that none of them expected. He sat down, right there on the cold metal floor of the docking bay. He crossed his legs, placed his hands on his knees with the palms facing up, and closed his eyes. Then he began to hum. It was a simple melody, something soft and slow, the kind of song a mother might sing to help a child sleep. "What is he doing?" One of the guards whispered. "Being an idiot." Another replied. Captain Yuna held up her hand for silence. She was watching her medic carefully. Her hand was still on her weapon, ready to draw if needed, but she did not move to stop him. Inside the container, the Varax had gone very still. Its ears, which had been flat against its head, slowly rose to half height. Its one good eye was fixed on the human sitting before it. For a long moment, nothing happened. The only sounds in the bay were Do-hwan's quiet humming and the distant rumble of the station's engines. Then the Varax moved. It was slow at first. The creature pushed itself up on its 6 legs, swaying slightly like it was having trouble balancing. Dr. Talek noticed how thin those legs were, how the muscles had wasted away from lack of food and exercise. The beast that had once been designed to destroy armies could barely stand. Step by step, the Varax walked out of the container. Every guard in the room tensed. Fingers tightened on triggers. Someone's breathing grew very loud and very fast. But Do-hwan did not move. He kept humming. He kept his eyes closed. He sat there like he was alone in a peaceful garden instead of a room with a monster. The Varax stopped about 2 meters away from him. Up close, the creature was even more horrible to look at. Its black fur was patchy and falling out in places. Open wounds oozed with infection. Its claws, each one as long as a human's hand, scraped against the floor with every movement. Its breath came out in ragged wheezes, and it smelled like sickness and old blood. But its eye, Dr. Talek could not look away from its eye. It was a deep amber color, like honey held up to sunlight. And in that eye, there was no anger, no hunger for violence. There was only exhaustion and confusion, and the smallest flicker of something that might have been hope. Do-hwan opened his eyes. The human and the beast looked at each other. Neither of them moved. The whole docking bay seemed to hold its breath. "Hello," Do-hwan said softly. His voice was calm and warm. "I know you are scared. I know you have been hurt. But I am not going to hurt you. I promise." The Varax tilted its massive head to one side. It was listening. "You have had a very hard life, have you not?" Do-hwan continued. He still did not move from his sitting position. "People have been cruel to you. They have made you fight. They have starved you. They have cut you and beaten you until you forgot that anything else was possible." A low rumble came from the creature's chest. It was not quite a growl, not quite a whine. It was something in between, like a question the beast did not know how to ask. "I understand," Do-hwan said. "I truly do. And I am so sorry for everything you have been through. But I want you to know something important." He slowly raised one hand, palm facing outward. "That is over now. No one is going to make you fight anymore. No one is going to hurt you. I am going to help you get better. I am going to take care of you." The Varax leaned forward. Its massive head came closer to Do-hwan's outstretched hand. Close enough to bite off his arm in a single snap. Close enough to end his life before anyone could stop it. Do-hwan did not pull away. The creature's nose touched his palm. It was wet and cold, like a dog's nose. It sniffed him once, twice, 3 times. Then it made a sound that Dr. Talek had never heard before. A sound that was not in any of the records about Varax behavior. It was a sigh. A long, deep, exhausted sigh, like something that had been holding on for too long was finally letting go. The Varax lowered itself to the ground. Slowly, carefully, it lay down on the cold metal floor. Its head came to rest right next to Do-hwan's knee. Its one good eye looked up at him with an expression that was almost trusting. For a moment, no one spoke. No one could believe what they were seeing. Then Do-hwan reached out and gently placed his hand on the creature's head. He began to scratch behind one of its torn ears, the same way someone might pet a tired dog. The Varax closed its eye. The rumbling sound in its chest changed. It became deeper, smoother, almost rhythmic. "It is purring," Mela whispered from behind her cargo box. "The Varax is purring." "That is not possible," Dr. Talek said weakly. "Varax do not purr. They do not have the vocal structure for it." "Tell that to the Varax," Captain Yuna replied. There was a small smile on her face, the first smile anyone had seen her make since she arrived. Do-hwan looked up at them. His eyes were wet, but he was smiling too. "I am going to need my supplies," he said. "And clean water. Lots of clean water. And someone to help me clean these wounds." He looked directly at Dr. Talek. "Doctor, you are a veterinarian. You dedicated your life to helping animals. Will you help me help this one?" Dr. Talek looked at the scene before him. The deadly bioweapon of legend curled up on the floor like a lost puppy, making sounds of contentment while a human scratched its ears. It went against everything he thought he knew about the universe, but maybe that was the point. Maybe the universe was bigger and stranger and more full of possibilities than any of them had imagined. His scales turned a soft green, the color of decision. "Mila," he said, "get my medical bag." the large one, and bring the portable scanner. If we are going to treat this creature, we are going to do it properly." Mela stared at him with wide eyes. "You are going to help?" "I became a doctor to save lives," Dr. Talek replied. He began walking toward Dohan and the Varax, his forearms steady for the first time since this whole situation began. "It seems I forgot that somewhere along the way. Thank you, human, for reminding me." Dohan's smile grew even wider. "You are welcome, doctor. Now please, let us get to work. Our patient has been waiting long enough." The Varax opened its eye briefly to watch Dr. Talek approach. Then, apparently deciding that this new creature was not a threat, it closed its eye again and went back to enjoying the first gentle touch it had ever known. The long work of healing was about to begin. The work lasted through the night and into the next morning. 14 hours of cleaning wounds, giving medicine, and slowly putting back together a body that had been broken in 100 different ways. Dohan worked with steady hands and endless patience. He cleaned every cut, no matter how small. He drained the infected parts where poison had built up under the skin. He gently washed away years of dirt and dried blood from the creature's black fur. Throughout it all, he talked to the Varax in a soft, calm voice, telling it what he was doing and why, even though the creature could not understand his words. "This medicine will sting a little," he would say, "but it will help the infection go away." Or, "I need to touch this part now. It might hurt, but I will be as gentle as I can." The Varax lay still through most of it. Sometimes, when Dohan touched a particularly painful spot, a low rumble would come from its chest. But it never tried to bite. It never tried to run. It just lay there and let the human work. Like it understood that this strange small creature was trying to help Dr. Talek found himself doing things he never expected. He passed Dohan instruments when asked. He mixed medicines according to the human's instructions. He held the Varax's fur back while Dohan stitched up deep cuts that should have been treated weeks ago. "The infection in its eye is very bad," Dr. Talek reported after scanning the creature's face. "I do not know if we can save the eye itself, but we can stop the infection from spreading to the brain." "Then that is what we will do," Dohan said. "Focus on saving its life first. We can worry about the rest later." Captain Yuna stood guard the entire time. She did not sit down once. Her eyes moved constantly between the work happening on the floor and the observation windows high above, where curious faces had gathered to watch. "Word has spread through the station," she reported during one of the brief rest breaks. "Everyone knows what is happening in here. Some of them think we are crazy. Others think we are heroes. A few of them have started placing bets on whether we will survive the night." "What are the odds?" Dohan asked with a tired smile. 3-1 against us. I have faced worse odds." The Varax shifted during this conversation. It had been dozing while they worked, slipping in and out of a light sleep, but now it was awake. Its amber eye watched Dohan with an intensity that made Dr. Talek nervous. But then the creature did something unexpected. It lifted one of its massive paws and placed it gently on Dohan's leg, just resting there, like a child reaching out to make sure a parent was still nearby. Dohan placed his own hand over the paw. "I am not going anywhere," he said softly. "I promise." The Varax made that purring sound again and closed its eye. Dr. Talek watched this exchange in silence. After a moment, he spoke. "Human, may I ask you something?" "Of course. Why do you do this? Why risk everything for a creature that was made to kill? Even if you save it, even if it survives, what then? It cannot live a normal life. It cannot be released into the wild. It will need care forever. Is that not a burden you are choosing to carry for no good reason?" Dohan did not answer right away. He continued cleaning a wound on the Varax's side, his movements slow and careful. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful. On Earth, we have a word: responsibility. It means that when you see something that needs help, and you have the power to help it, then it becomes your duty to try. He paused. My grandmother taught me that every living thing has value, not because of what it can do for you, but simply because it exists. A flower has value because it is beautiful. A flower has value because it is beautiful. A bird has value because it can sing, and a creature like this one has value because it survived. Against all odds, against all the cruelty and pain that was forced upon it, it held on. It did not give up. That kind of strength deserves respect. But the burden, Dr. Talek insisted. The cost. Is it worth it? Do-Hwan looked up at him. His eyes were red from exhaustion, but they were also peaceful. Doctor, what is the alternative? To look at something suffering and do nothing? To decide that some lives are worth saving and some are not? Where does that end? He shook his head. I would rather carry a burden for the rest of my life than live knowing I could have helped and chose not to. Dr. Talek had no response to that. He simply went back to work, but his mind was troubled as the hours passed. The Varax began to show small signs of improvement. Its breathing became easier. The fever that had been burning through its body started to drop. The wounds, properly cleaned and treated, stopped leaking infection at some point. Mela brought food from the station's kitchen. Do-Hwan ate quickly, never moving from his spot on the floor. Captain Yuna ate standing up, still watching the doors. Dr. Talek found that he had no appetite, but he forced himself to eat anyway. They might need their strength for whatever came next. It needs a name, Mila said suddenly. Everyone looked at her. The creature, she explained, her scales turning pink with embarrassment. We keep calling it the Varax, or the creature, but if it is going to live, it should have a name. Something to remind us that it is an individual, not just a species. Do-Hwan smiled. It was the first real smile he had shown in hours. You are right. Every patient deserves a name. He looked down at the beast sleeping beside him. In my language, there is a word for something that shines in the darkness. Bile. It means star. Bile, Mila repeated. I like it. Captain Yuna nodded. Bile it is. Dr. Talek tested the word in his mouth. Bile. It felt strange on his tongue, but not unpleasant. Yes, that is a good name for a creature that survived against impossible odds. As if responding to its new name, Bile opened her eye, for they had discovered during the examination that the creature was female, and looked around at the small group of beings who had gathered around her. Her gaze moved from Yuna to Mila to Dr. Talek, studying each of them in turn. Then her eye settled on Do-Hwan. She made a soft sound almost like a question. Hello, Bile, Do-Hwan said gently. Welcome to your new life. Bile's tail, which had been still throughout the entire treatment, moved slightly. Just a small wag, back and forth. But it was enough Dr. Talek felt something change inside him at that moment. The fear was still there, would probably always be there when he looked at those claws and those teeth. But alongside the fear was something new. Something that felt a lot like hope. Maybe the universe really was stranger and more wonderful than he had imagined. Maybe there was room in it for monsters to become friends. Maybe all it took was someone willing to sit in the darkness and hum a soft song until the light found its way in. The night was long, but they were not facing it alone. 3 weeks had passed since the night. Everything changed. Dr. Talek stood at the entrance of Docking Bay 9, which had been converted into a temporary home for their unusual patient. The cold metal floor was now covered with soft padding. Heat lamps provided warmth in the corners. A large pool of water sat against one wall, clean and fresh. replaced twice a day, and in the middle of it all was Bile. The change in her was remarkable. Her black fur, once matted and falling out, had grown back thick and healthy. Her body, which had been nothing but bones and skin, had filled out with proper nutrition. She moved with confidence now, her 6 legs carrying her smoothly across the floor without any sign of pain or weakness. Her infected eye had been saved, though the vision in it was not perfect. Dr. Talek had worked for 5 hours to drain the infection and repair the damage. It was the most delicate surgery he had ever performed, and he had done it on a creature that could have killed him with a single swipe of its paw. But Bile had not moved during the entire operation. She had lain still, trusting the hands that worked on her, trusting that the pain was necessary for healing. Now she was playing. Doan had made a toy from some old cargo nets, tying them together into a ball that Bile could chase and bat around. She was doing exactly that when Dr. Talek arrived, pouncing on the ball with her front paws, tossing it into the air, and catching it before it hit the ground. Her tail wagged constantly. Her amber eyes, both of them open now, sparkled with something that looked very much like joy. "She looks happy," Dr. Tulloch said. Doan was sitting on the padding, watching his patient play. His face was tired but peaceful. "She is happy. For the first time in her life, I think she is truly happy. The Extermination Guild is not happy. They filed a formal complaint with the Galactic Council. They want Bile destroyed as a potential threat to public safety." Doan's expression did not change. "I heard about that. What happened?" "Earth's diplomatic team told them to find something more important to worry about." He smiled slightly. "It turns out, humans get very protective of things they decide to care about. And right now, a lot of humans care about Bile." This was true. News of the Varax that had been saved by a human medic had spread across the galaxy. Videos of Bile playing, eating, and sleeping peacefully had been watched by billions of beings on thousands of worlds. Some people still thought the creature should be destroyed, but many more were fascinated by the story of a monster that had become something else, something gentler. "A sanctuary is being prepared on one of your colony worlds," Dr. Talek said. "I received the message this morning. Yes, it is called Haven, a planet with wide open spaces, clean air, and no other dangerous predators. Perfect for creatures like Bile who need a safe place to live out their lives." Doan's voice grew softer. "I am going with her. The authorities have asked me to oversee her care and rehabilitation. It could take years, maybe forever. You are giving up everything to stay with one animal? I am gaining more than I am giving up." Doan reached out as Bile bounded over to him. She dropped the ball in front of him like a gift, and then flopped down beside him, her massive head resting on his lap. "I am gaining a purpose, a friend, a chance to do something that matters." Dr. Talek watched the human scratch behind Bile's ears. The great beast, the living weapon, the terror of the Third Spiral War, closed her eyes and purred like an overgrown kitten. "I do not understand your species," Dr. Talek admitted. "You are small. You are soft. Your bodies break easily. Your homeworld should have destroyed you long ago. And yet you look at something like this," he gestured at Bile, "something designed to kill, and you see a friend. You see something worth saving." Captain Yuna had entered the bay without Dr. Talek noticing. She stood nearby, her arms crossed, watching the scene with an expression that was almost fond. "Maybe that is exactly why we survived," she said. "Earth did not make us hard, Doctor. It made us stubborn. Too stubborn to give up on anything." She nodded toward Doan and Bile. "Too stubborn to give up on each other. Too stubborn to give up on creatures that need us." Doan looked up. "Captain, is the ship ready?" "Ready and waiting. We leave in 2 hours." She paused. The crew drew straws to see who gets to help transport Bile. Everyone wanted to be part of it. She is going to be nervous during the journey. New places, new sounds, new smells. I will need people who can stay calm even if she gets scared. My crew has faced down pirates, storms, and one memorable incident with a malfunctioning gravity generator. I think they can handle one large cat thing having a bad day. Bile's ear twitched at the word cat. She opened one eye and looked at Captain Yuna with what might have been offense or amusement. It was hard to tell. Dr. Talik stepped forward. He had thought about this moment for the past week, ever since he learned that Bile would be leaving. There was something he needed to do, something that scared him almost as much as that first night when the containment field came down. "Before you go," he said, "may I say goodbye to her?" Do-Wan smiled warmly. "Of course. She has been looking for you." "Looking for me?" "Every time someone comes through that door, she looks up to see who it is. When it is not you, she goes back to whatever she was doing. But she always looks." Dr. Talik felt his scales change to a soft blue. He walked slowly toward Bile, his forearms hanging awkwardly at his sides. The Varax watched him approach, her amber eyes calm and curious. He stopped in front of her and knelt down so that they were at the same level. Up close, he could see all the changes that 3 weeks of care had brought. The healthy shine of her fur, the clarity of her eyes, the relaxed way she held her body without tension or fear. "Hello, Bile," he said quietly. "I am sorry I wanted to hurt you. I was afraid. I did not understand. But this human taught me something important." He glanced at Do-Wan. "He taught me that fear is not a reason to cause harm. That even things that seem dangerous can be gentle if given the chance." Bile tilted her head, studying him with those intelligent eyes. Then she did something remarkable. She reached out with one massive paw and placed it gently on Dr. Talik's shoulder. Not pressing down, not threatening, just touching him, the way a friend might touch another friend to say that everything was okay. Dr. Talik felt tears forming in his eyes. His species was not supposed to cry, but apparently his body had not received that message. "Take care of her," he said to Do-Wan, his voice rough with emotion. "Always," Do-Wan promised. 2 hours later, Dr. Talik stood in the observation deck and watched the human ship pull away from the station. Somewhere inside that ship, a creature that had been born for war was beginning a journey toward peace. The galaxy was vast and often cruel. But sometimes, in the small spaces between stars, there were moments of unexpected kindness. Moments when the broken were made whole. Moments when monsters became friends. And it usually started with a human who was too stubborn to look at suffering and do. NOTHING. Dr. Talik watched until the ship disappeared into the darkness. Then he turned and went back to work. There were other creatures in his care, other patients who needed healing. He had been a doctor for 40 years, but today felt like a new beginning. Today, he remembered why he had become a healer in the first place. And somewhere out there, traveling toward a world called Haven, a former weapon of war was curled up next to a human who hummed soft songs and scratched behind her ears. Bile did not know where they were going. She did not understand the larger story of which she was now a part. She only knew that for the first time in her life, she was not alone. She was not afraid. She was not in pain. She was loved. And that made all the difference.